Hello, in this video I will tell shortly about Gautama, Buddha life. Hope you would find interesting. Siddhartha, popularly known as Gautama, Buddha, was an Indian priest. He is the founder of Buddhism, the most popular religion in the world. He taught the great philosophy that desire is the cause of suffering. He also taught the eightfold path of good faith, good intention, goodness, good deeds, good life, good effort, good testimony, and good meditation. He holds a special place for himself among the great sages who appeared in this world. Considered to be the embodiment of wisdom and knowledge, the Buddha. His life is an inspiration to those who cannot cope with today's hectic life with increasing pressures. All the Buddha's teachings refer to realizing the inner self and ultimately attaining bliss. Read on to learn more about the life history of Gautama Buddha and the Buddhist teachings he created, who laid down the Buddhist teachings of preventing future karma, increasing good karma, purifying the mind, and attaining enlightenment. Siddhartha Gautama was born in Lumbini, Nepal, the son of Kapilavastu Empress Uthodhana Gautama and Queen Mahamaya. When the Buddha was born, he had 32 sacred birthmarks on his body to indicate his prosperous future. As his mother died 7 days after his birth, he was brought up by his sister, Mahaprajapati. During Siddhartha's horoscope, the astrologers said that he would become a saint who will be admired by the world. So his father, who wanted to raise him well and become a king, kept him in the palace until he did not know the meaning of hardship, trouble and hard work. In his youth, Siddhartha lived a life of opulence and luxury. He spent his entire youth in the palace, fearing that his son would renounce worldly pleasures and become an ascetic. King Suthodhana married Siddhartha to a girl named Yasodhara when he was 16 years old. They both had a son named Rahula. Siddhartha was unattached to the luxurious, royal life he lived. Disgusted with palace life and domestic life, he sought to know the meaning of his existence in the world, and one day, unknown to anyone, he left the palace against his father's orders. On the way he saw a crippled old man, a sick man, a corpse and finally a silent hermit, just as the astrologers had predicted. The first 3 people he met left him confused, and they made him realize, beauty and life are not permanent. But the saint's face he saw at last showed peace. Thus, in order to find the answer to the problems of birth, old age, sickness, and death, he came to the conclusion that he should leave all worldly possessions like his wife, children, palace, royal life and take up an ascetic life. So, he left his home on a dark night. Having renounced worldly possessions and become an ascetic, Siddhartha, with his head shaved and wearing a yellow robe, left the palace and advanced towards Rajgraha, the capital of Magadha. Then, in the hills near that kingdom, he went towards the caves where the ascetics lived. There he asked a monk named Alama Kalamo to guide him. After some time, he decided to go to another monk for spiritual pursuit. Also, he was committed to practicing extreme forms of yoga and asceticism to attain inner bliss. Due to this constant torture, he became so weak that he completely abstained from food. One day, while he was trying to meditate, some dancing girls passed by where he was sitting. Suddenly their song made Siddhartha realize that self-torturing like fasting is not going to help you achieve true happiness. Thus, he gave up intense meditation and other practices and started eating again. He also felt that inner peace can be achieved only when the body and mind are happy without any pain or torture. Gautama, who went to various monasteries and ashrams in search of answers to his questions, realized that meditation was the only way to find the truth. Later, he went to the Bodh Gaya forest near Banaras and sat in meditation under the shade of a banyan tree called a Japala near the Bodhi tree. For Gautama, who was ready to lose his life and whose only goal was enlightenment, in order to attain full enlightenment, worldly illusions gave various obstacles and disturbances. Regardless of all this, Gautama attained enlightenment after 49 days of continuous meditation. After attaining enlightenment, he preached religious teachings and teachings that could lead to a harmonious and balanced life. At the Deer Park in Sonath, his famous sermon was held. Since then, he was known as Gautama Buddha and Buddha. Buddha traveled all over the world to preach his teachings. Countless disciples supported and followed his teachings. His teachings were strongly opposed by the Hindus. All of Gautama Buddha's teachings embraced the single aim of liberating human beings from the suffering of life. Thus, he founded Buddhism. Buddhism teaches man that desire and suffering are the main cause of all suffering in this world. And he taught the eightfold path of good faith, good will, well-being, good deeds, good life, good effort, good testimony, and good meditation to all. He also taught that by following this path one can attain the ultimate goal of nirvana. All of his teachings were against the caste system of Hinduism and attracted a wide variety of people, as there was no distinction between rich and poor. Ashoka, the Mauryan emperor, supported Buddhism. Sonath and Bodh Gaya are considered to be the most important centers of Buddhism. The Buddha accepted the invitation of one of his disciples and went to his house for a meal. His disciple poisoned the food, and he fell ill. Then he staggered to a place called Kushinagar. He took his final bath in the river Kakuta. After some rest, he died of natural causes. We reached the end of the video. Hope you learnt about Gautama Buddha. See you in the next video about his teachings.